Overall, just very pleased with the performance and preparation by our football program. A lot of guys were able to play and performed at a high level, which speaks to the depth of our football team. Was very pleased with both sides of the ball, how we were able to keep up the level of play in the second half after gaining that halftime lead. We won the turnover margin, rushing battle, third down battle, explosive play battle, and time of possession. And as I said last week, if you win those key areas, you're going to win a football game. The players of the game on offense were Jeremiah Love, defense was Jordan Botello, and special teams was Max Hurleman. And then the scout players of the week on offense was Charlie Selna. On defense was the entire scout defensive line, which was Sean Civillano, Devin Houston, Grant Ristoff, Brennan Vernon, and Kobe Unuke. And then on special teams, it was Henry Garrity. And so, as always, when you watch film on Sundays, there's areas for improvement, and we have to continue to attack those areas and then enhance in the areas that we performed well. As we turn our focus to Miami, Ohio, who we know is a good football team. I think in both of their losses this year, they're one-score games going into half. And we got a lot of respect for Chuck Martin and the job he's done in 11 years there. And obviously he's familiar with this place. They were the 23 MAC champs. And so we understand the challenge we have ahead of us. And we have to understand the challenge we have ahead of us and get to work and prepare for this upcoming opponent. A couple injury updates. Jordan Botello will be out for the season with a knee injury. Ashton Craig will be out for the season with a knee injury. Billy Schroff will be out for a few weeks with an ankle injury. And Jordan Faison should be full go. And Josh Burnham is still questionable depending on how he progresses this week. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
On your right side in the third row, Tim Priester.
Coach, I was curious as to how you came to the decisions along the offensive line. Obviously, two veterans that you could have placed in the starting lineup. You went with Pendleton. I wondered if that was like a tandem decision between Pendleton with the highest upside and then getting Coogan backup reps at center in case something happened to Ashton Craig.
Yeah, it was you evaluate fall camp and you grade every practice, and we felt like Sam gave us the best chance to get the job done on our offensive line, have a lot of confidence in Pat and Rocco, and then made the decision after we decided Sam would be the starter to make Pat be the backup center, but also get some reps at guard. And so when Ashton went down, Pat was the first one. He's our backup center.
Right. So how is Coogan playing the center position, and could that ultimately be his best position?
Yeah, he's been doing really well and played well in his 20-something plays on Saturday. I hope it is his best position.
Best fit
It could be. We believe he could be a center or guard. Obviously, you have to snap at center and make some IDs, but I hope this is the best position for him, and he plays the best ball moving forward.
Up the middle aisle on your right as well, Sean Stiers.
Marcus, you talked after the game the other day about playing to Riley's strengths more with the offense this past week. How much of what we saw is like this is the offense now versus this is a piece sort of building to something still?
Yeah, that was the offense that we felt gave us the best chance to succeed versus Purdue. And that fit his skill set and what we thought he did best. This week we have to continue to do that in terms of what we feel will give the best chance for offense to succeed, including Riley versus this defense. It's a different defense than what we saw last week, and every week as you go into preparation, you have to take into consideration what your guys can do well, but also what's going to help you have success versus the defense you're going against.
I mean, there's evidence that 2 years ago he threw for almost 3,000 yards at Duke. He's on pace right now, just a little bit more than half of that. So how do you kind of continue to coax that out of him, I guess?
Yeah, if we need to throw it to have success, I'm sure we'll game plan in a way that we'll have to throw it. But it's about what's going to have success against the defense you're going against. And Riley did a great job running and making the throws. I think he was 11 of 16 in the first half, and did a really good job of executing what we asked him to do. And so we're not looking for stats. We're not looking for how much we throw it, how much we run it. We're looking for success against the opponent.
Front row all the way to your right, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach, with Josh being questionable, with Jordan being out, I know Boubacar can play both sides and so forth, but until Josh is healthy again, are there some younger players or players at other positions that might be able to help you at the Viper and the defensive end, like Logan Thomas or somebody from the interior?
Yeah, Bryce Young played really well. He's a guy that's different, man. He's going to continue to get more playing time. He's a really good player, and he's young, but he's got a lot of talent. Junior Tuahalamaka, you'll see more of him. You'll see Logan Thomas, who did a good job in his reps that he got on Saturday, and that's why I said that in the opening statement. It was really good to see some 2s and 3s get valuable, meaningful reps versus an opponent, a Big Ten opponent, and they played well, played to the standard, which to me speaks to their preparation. You never know going into a game if you're going to be called upon or not, but you got to be ready. And there was guys on scout team on both sides of the ball that played on Saturday that executed their job. And so credit to our players and our coaches that weren't the starters for being prepared.
Beyond the ones that you just mentioned, the 2s and the 3s, like Kennedy Urlacher had some highlight plays. Did anybody really change your maybe opinion of them to where, hey, maybe we need to rethink this guy's role and so forth?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys earned some trust from their coaches on Saturday. I think I said Bryce Young, Leonard Moore continues to improve. He had a strong fall camp, and it's just you have so much confidence in Benjamin Morrison and Christian Gray and even Jaden Mickey. It's like where can we find a way to get Leonard Moore on the field more? Because he is a talented guy. Same thing with Kennedy Urlacher, man. He played really well. But then you say, okay, you got a Don out there, you got X, you got Rod Hurt, and it's where can we find a place for those guys? But they're earning it. They're good football players that we're going to need to be ready to help us.
Third row on your left, Pete Byrne.
I was actually going to ask you about Kennedy Urlacher because he did play some meaningful reps, I think, before you kind of transitioned down to the younger guys. What kind of player is he, in your opinion, and what are his strengths? How can you use him? I get who's in front of him, but, what kind of player can he be for you guys, you think?
Yeah, he's a ball hawk. He finds a way to, find the ball, close space. He's a really good tackler. I challenged her, even in special teams, can we get him out there more? I'm going to continue to challenge Kennedy to make sure you're a great practice player too, right? And those are things that are hard as a freshman to learn how to practice at that standard and then perform at the standard that he's performing at. But, he is a really good player and made some critical plays for us on Saturday. And we'll continue to find ways to get him on the field.
What one thing more than anything do you hope your team is able to take from last Saturday and bring with them into this next week?
It's just the preparation, the mindset. You can't take a loss to have the mentality that we have to have mentally and physically to prepare the right way for an opponent. And so we have to be able to, move past the previous game and really start the preparation the right way starting today as we meet with them this afternoon. And so, as I said last week, we can be a really good football team. We got work to do. Let's evaluate the film the right way. Let's come up with a plan to attack and fix the issues that we have and continue to prepare and respect your opponent, and know at any point you can beat any team you play and you can lose any team you play. That's the beauty of college football. And so we got to prepare and understand that as we prepare.
On your right, third row, Jackson Neal.
Marcus, 66 points this past weekend. Just what does it do for the confidence for this offense this week after maybe having some struggles earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think it goes a long way. It validates, the work they put in, but the talent that they have. And so, it's still a young group in terms of being together. We have some older guys that are playing, that played a lot of ball, but part of this is the experience together. And I think, they did a really good job of making sure everybody's on the same page, preparing the right way and going and playing the right way. So I think it's done a lot for the confidence. We got to continue to replicate that preparation that we had last week and go out and perform that same way.
And then specifically the offensive line, even with a couple players, going out, what did you see from their performance with the kind of switched up personnel?
Yeah, credit to the depth, the job that Coach Rudolph has done with that offensive line. To have Pat Coogan go in there and Rocco Spindler. I said this after the game, but two guys that could easily, didn't get what they wanted after fall camp. They wanted to be the starters. They weren't, and they prepared, and they were great teammates and leaders for that room, and now they're in there. And, we have a lot of confidence in those guys, but also some of the other guys. I thought Sullivan Absher played well. Gerby Lambert played well. Chris Terrick played well. So, you hate to lose Ashton for the year and Billy for a couple weeks, but, man, I have a lot of confidence in the depth of our offensive line.
Front row on your left, Jack Sobel.
Marcus, sorry. When you lose a guy like Botello, who had really seemed to be hitting his stride in the first few weeks of the season, what's the impact there?
Huge impact. Jordan Botello's a great player. It was playing his best ball since I've been here. You feel awful for the kid. You feel awful for him. But you have to continue to move forward, right? And that's why you have depth, and you have guys that are prepared and ready to step up and get the job done.
The mantra the past couple weeks has been, got to handle success better. What needs to change this week to handle success better than you did in week one?
The preparation, the mindset, the mentality.
Right next to him, Tyler Horka.
Hey, Coach, it seems like every time we ask about Steve Angeli, it's in the same context. He comes in to kind of mop up, but this was pretty much a full half. What did you see from him? What did you like? Maybe some things that you didn't like?
Oh, man, he played really well, which I knew he would. We have a lot of confidence in Steve Angeli. Made good decisions, took care of the ball. I know he wishes that he wouldn't have took those sacks, but, man, I was really pleased and proud of the way Steve played.
On Miami, Ohio, obviously another MAC team. Are there similarities to Northern Illinois? I know every opponent's different, but what do you kind of see from them that could present a challenge?
A good football team that can come in here and beat us if we don't prepare the right way. And so that's the similarities I see between those two teams, is that both of them are good football teams, and we have to respect them in terms of the way we prepare. Schematically, they're different, but a well-coached team. They do a good job of limiting your possessions on offense. Both play really good defensively, and we have to really prepare our best to perform the way we want to have a victory on Saturday.
Staying on the left side, second row, Tyler James.
Marcus, not a lot to complain about with the offense in the first half, but there were a couple 3-and-outs. How did you like the way the unit responded to those 3-and-outs?
Yeah. That, we can't. That's a challenge that we have to get better at. You score first drive, 3-and-out, second drive. Score the third drive, 3-and-out. The fourth drive. You're not going to score every drive, but we have to be able to move the chains and look at the reasons why we went 3-and-out, right? And what happened on those series. And, that's why I've always said you evaluate each play. And but we can't, as an entirety, go 3-and-out on offense. We know that. But I'm really proud of the way they responded. The fifth series where we went down and scored, the sixth series we went down and scored. And so it was a good response, but we got to evaluate every play but those two series and say, okay, what mistakes did we make on these series that we can't have a 3-and-out?
Because Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and even Riley Leonard to some extent have shown an ability to break long runs, does that increase the importance of being patient with the running game and making sure that those guys have those opportunities to break plays like that?
Yeah, I think you still have to be committed to running the ball. And, that's what our identity is. We want to be able to run the ball, and you have to be patient. But you also, as what happened 2 weeks ago, you can't go 3 and out and then just say, okay, let's keep running the ball. You got to move the chains and got to change the field position. So we got a couple guys that can run the ball and take it all the way. We know that, and so we got to continue to play to our strengths.
Last up, right in the middle row, Mike Berardino.
Jeez.
Careful there.
Come on, Alan. You know what I mean?
Kevin Bauman got in the action there, and I know all that he's been through, and his teammates mobbed him. What did that mean to the group? What can you say about, and how close did he maybe come to just calling it a career at some point?
You know, I think, man, that was a struggle for him going through 2 ACLs. I don't know personally if he had that thought of maybe hanging it up. I think a lot of people would. But, you know, to come back for his senior year and be a great teammate and do everything in his power to help this team achieve team glory. You can't have enough people like Kevin Bauman and Pat Coogan and those guys, man. I love those guys. But it's great to see him get a reward, right? And, man, to see him out there, to see him catch a touchdown, and to see the way his teammates celebrate it, like that tells you a lot about Kevin. Every person on that sideline was excited for him, and I'm happy that he was able to achieve that.
Then at some point you could have 6 guys on your defense on the field at the same time with NFL dads, if I'm counting that correct. And we've talked about how that can lead them to this place, but how does it start to show up even when they're out there together? Do you ever hear from the dads in season, or do they know enough to lay back?
Yeah, every once in a while I might hear from them, but you know, it's actually, you probably have a different relationship with the fathers that have played in the NFL, that have played the game, because they get it, right? And they probably see it from a lens of team glory. I say that's important to us, right? And not individual glory. It's not, what is my son doing? How can he be better? Why isn't he playing more? It's, you know, they text you after the good ones and they text you after the bad ones. You know, your phone's kind of quiet a lot of times after the bad ones, but some of those guys in the NFL, they get it, they understand, and so it's really cool, right? It speaks to the way we've recruited, speaks to this university, and the value some of those NFL players see in Notre Dame in terms of the football program, but also the education, and so it's a great testament to this place.
Coming back to the right side in the third row, Tim Priester.
Sorry. James Rendell, I guess one of the good things about his background is he usually gets a good roll when he kicks it. He hasn't kicked anything in the end zone, but he hasn't banked one yet. What are you trying to emphasize with him?
Yeah, I've spent some time with Coach Biaggi just talking about, you know, James is a guy that has so much talent. He can do so many things with the football, and we really have to evaluate what we're asking him to do. And it gets the same thing we talk about offense and defense. Like as coaches, we know the talent he has. We haven't put it all together in the games. Let's evaluate what we're asking him to do. I know he can punt across the field. I know he can do a spiral punts. I know he can do end over end punts. But what we got to do is call the things that he can do in the game. And that's on us as coaches. We got to put him in a better position and ask him to do the things that he does well, get experience, and then we can have him do all these different types of punts. And so we got to get him better in practice. We got to maybe be strategic in how we ask him to punt in practice. Usually in practice you go punt period, right? And that's about all you get. But we're going to probably scatter some punts throughout practice to say, okay, treat this like a game. All right, you might be sitting on the sidelines for 20 minutes. Come back in, now you got to execute. And so we as coaches are looking at ourselves and saying, okay, how can we help this guy with so much talent have success on Saturdays? And so I hope that some of the changes we're going to make in terms of what we ask him to do, how we practice, will help him on Saturday.
Is his style of punting, because of his background, is it better served if he tries to be directional as opposed to just, banging one?
Yeah, he can do it all, Tim. That's the problem, is that he can do directional. He can bang one straight down. but we can't ask him to do all that until he can do it in the game. And that's what we got to do. We got to. You're talking about the challenge of a coach, right? Is that we have individuals, and I'm using James as an example, that can do a lot, right? In practice, they can do a lot, but in the game, it's different. And so let's tone it down and say, okay, let's call the things that this guy can do well in the game, not just in practice, but we believe that, hey, we got evidence he can do this well in the game. And then as he gets more confidence in doing that, now we can add all these extra type of punts. But that's the challenge of a coach, is that you can't fall in love with just what they do well in practice. You got to really fall in love with the things that you know they can do in the game.
Coach Freeman, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.